If you'd like to follow along, this project is available for purchase at the Montavilla Sewing Center's Teachable site. You can purchase the project separately or join the club and save. Information on joining the club is available in the description below. This block is part of the yearly 8-inch Block of the Month Club. Enrollment in the yearly club includes the General Instructions course, which includes detailed information on what to do with your blocks once they're completed. Trimming, joining, sashing, invisible sashing, applique and raw edge applique, whole block backs, borders and corners, and how to bind the quilt once you've got all your blocks joined together. The general instructions are also available as a single course. There's a link in the description below. I use the dime monster block maker when making my blocks. If you are unfamiliar with the monster block maker, check out this video. Needle for this project, an 80-12 quilting needle, thread, a standard, a 40 weight, either a polyester or rayon, and for your bobbin, again, just a standard embroidery bobbin, either 60 or 80 weight. Parts for the ribbon block, I have my top block, and on this one, I'm just using a white on white, my batting, and then my back. Let's talk a little bit about the ribbon for this particular project. The ribbon that you use will depend on what you're going to do with the finished block. If this block is going to be used for an actual quilt that will be laundered, you'll need to make sure that you use a washable ribbon, because not all ribbon is in fact washable. Some ribbon are craft ribbons. So you may need to do a little bit of a test with that just to see. Another thing to keep in mind with your ribbon, this particular ribbon is in fact designed for apparel and it is washable. However, this may not be the best choice because you're going to be bending your ribbon. And on this, where the dots are printed, it might be a little bit stiff. Also, your ribbon is going to flip-flop back and forth. So in some parts you would have dots and some parts you would not. So just something to keep in mind. This one is also a printed ribbon, but the dots are not nearly as large as here. So they're a little bit more flexible. But again, you're going to have dots on one side and plain on the other. And it's really kind of up to you. This is a single-faced satin ribbon that works out really well because it's a little bit more dull on one side. And so when it flips back and forth, you see both sides and it kind of gives it an undulating effect. Let me find that. This is a sample block with this exact ribbon. And I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on the camera, but in person, you can kind of see a little bit of the movement in there. I actually quite like that look. So this is just a single face satin ribbon. This one, and I just found this in my stash. I honestly don't know if this is a washable ribbon or not. This is from Michaels. I have no idea how long I've had it. Ages, I'm sure. It's nylon and polyester. You would definitely want to test this. This one I think would work really well because the design is on both sides. So you would end up with a look that was like that. I think that would actually be quite cute. And then this ribbon is an organdy or organza in the middle, and then there's a little bit of satin on the outside. This is also really nice because when it flips, you can see through it. It just is a very nice look. And then this is just a plain organdy ribbon. Again, when it flips back and forth, it's kind of fun because you get the double view. I'm going to do one of the demos in this. This is actually a little bit wider. I think this is 1/2-inch ribbon. You can really use anything between a 5/16 and 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch is going to be a little bit wider than the guide stitches. This would work well for the organdy or organza ribbon because you can still see the stitches through, so you can keep your ribbon aligned correctly. The 5/16 inch ribbon is going to be slightly smaller than the 3/8 inch lines. But again, you would just have to put it in there evenly. You'll set up your jig just like normal. Your back block is going to go face down on the bottom. And then your batting and your top block. I normally demo using the multi-needle, and I really don't even show the stitching. I just show you the steps. This time I'm going to show you on a single needle, just because I think it will be a little bit easier. It can easily be done on the multi-needle. I did this sample on the multi-needle. You end up having to frame back and frame out an awful lot just to be able to get your ribbon flipped. I think there will be a little bit less of that on the single needle. So I'm going to finish setting up my block. And again, I just start in the middle and press to the outside and press into the tape and make sure that that's well secured. The other thing that I'm going to use with this, because it will help hold things in place. And once you kind of get the hang of this, you may or may not actually need to use the washable school glue. Off to the machine. I'm stitching color number 1. This is color number 2. I'm stitching it again. I decided that there was no way you were going to be able to see that stitching in white on the white background, so I thought I would get a little fun, and I'm now doing it in gold. Should also add a little bit of sparkle. This is color number 3, the little stars. Our color number 1 has been stitched, the basting border. Color number 2 is the placement for the ribbon. Color number 3 were the little stars. I've done this in a gold metallic thread just for fun. I did use a 9014 top stitch needle. I thought it might be easier for you to actually see. If I bring this up, hopefully you can actually see that. You will notice that on the basting border right here, there's a little thread notch right here at the center. This is where the design is going to start. So that I can explain to you how this is going to lay out a little bit easier, I'm going to use the glue stick just at the start. We may need to use it through the entire thing. We'll see how that goes. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right here. The design is going to go to the right. I've allowed 11 inches for the starting tail. So this is where I'm going to start. And you can see as I'm laying this down, that glue is going to just help keep that ribbon in place. And my ribbon is wider than my stitching. I'm just centering it equally here. And again, I'll bring this up a little bit closer. So there's my stitching, and I'm centering it over here. The next stitch that's going to stitch, there's a little tacking stitch down here at the bottom to hold this end into place. Then the next stitch is going to come across here. After that stitches, we'll fold the ribbon down, and I'll show you that at the machine. This is color number 4, and it's just going to do a little tack stitch down here. I have my machine slowed way down as well. And then our next stitch is going to stitch across here. Because our ribbon is wider than our 3/8 of an inch, the stitching is not going to go all the way to the edge, but it will still be fine. So what will happen next is the ribbon is going to fold down here, and actually from here I think I can probably just hold this in place and not have to use the glue. You want this to lay nice and flat, but you don't want to tug it too much. And then just stitch the next stitch. And then you're going to flip this way, and it's going to stitch across this way here. Not the fastest block in the land, but it's very pretty. Flip down this way, and once again I'm just making sure that it's centered. This is the only one that is a little bit different than on the circle. The square has corners, so instead of going up and down, you'll just follow the same method. It's just that the design is a little bit different. This process is just going to continue until you get back down to this end. I've just stitched the final top stitch, and I'm bringing this down, and then this will be my final bottom stitch. So that tacks the two layers together. And then the inside stitches, I'm just going to do all of that in gold. Here's our block all stitched. When I measured off, I just put a little pin because I didn't take this off the roll. And I had allowed 10 inches for my tails. So that was pretty close. A couple inches off there, but I'm going to call that good. I'd rather have a little bit extra than not enough. So I'm just going to even these off. I'm just trimming this at an angle so that it won't fray. And then you would just take this out and trim up your block. I find it easiest to tie the bow while it's still in the jig because the weight will help hold it down. This is how I tie my bow to get it even. I take my left side and do my loop here, loop this side, and then the bottom one, go up and over the top and then down under. And then you need to snug it down before it will kind of lay even. Just know that. Like that. And then you can just trim up your block. You could also leave your tails a little bit shorter and then just tack your bow on after the fact. And then I would just trim up the block like normal. The square block and the round block. This is, again, a 3/8 inch single face satin ribbon, and this is a 1/2 inch organdy ribbon or organza ribbon. Grosgrain ribbon would work equally as well. The centers I have done in different colors so that you can pick and choose which ones you want. I really designed these blocks because I thought they would be great to be able to do a monogram in the middle of that. Depending on your machine, you could still easily put a monogram in the center of these guys. That's it for this month. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next month. Thanks.